Welcome to another episode of the A.R. Bernard Show, where we dive into the intersection of faith and culture. I'm your host, A.R. Bernard, and I'm always excited about my guest, but today especially so because he is a brilliant actor, producer, and philanthropist who is known from the hit shows The Wire and Bosch. He's the author of popular children's books and My Spiritual Son. Please welcome Jamie Hector.
Hi, Pastor.
Jamie, it is good to have you with us. And of course, we've got to start with The Wire. Throughout your career, you have played an array of characters, of course, including Marlo Stanfield. Mm-hmm. And even the President of the United States weighed in on that one.
He did.
And I'm sure that was a big boost for the show, for the program. How do you work on such a diversity of characters and understand the impact that you're having on culture?
Well, I work on the diversity of characters. First, it started off with my training, my love for the work, the process, and my training at Lee Strasberg Theater Institute, which helped me develop characters in a dynamic way, which, you don't want to play stock or static characters, so you want to create empathy and non-judgment of characters. Mm-hmm. So working on all these array of characters is me just looking at the material and making a choice of, this is the character that I want to play, with the understanding that it's not just about me. It's not just about the character. It's about the entire story as a whole. And how am I going to affect the people? How's the story going to affect the people? Is it one-dimensional? Is it does it have an arc? Is it a story that I feel the world would receive and appreciate?
How much latitude do you have? I mean, you're handed a script as a character. You look at the big picture, the whole story, understand the role that character has in the big story. How much latitude do you have to bring your creative abilities to the character? Well,
it's a conversation with the director, the writer, and the producers. On some projects, you don't really have much latitude. They wrote it a certain way, like Alan Sorkin, for example. You can sit down and work on The West Wing, and not speaking for Alan Sorkin because I haven't worked with him, but you can tell that that's a story that he dives into in a way where it's just specific language. And when you have an opportunity to know the character better than those that created it, then that gives you latitude, right? Because you've done so much research and you dived in and you live in the world, in the space of that character. It gives you latitude to have a conversation about, I don't think he would make this choice. That's not a choice that the character would make or me in the character would make. So we can converse about that. We can talk about that. But usually when it's a smaller role and you're part of a production, you like a drive-by on set, then the latitude is not much. You come in there, you do your part, and then you go.
That makes sense. So you take, like, Marlo Stanfield. Did you relate to him in any way?
Yeah, I related to his discipline. I related to his laser focus on wanting to succeed. For him, it was power. Everything was about power and gaining the crown. So there's certain things that he would do, there's certain things that he wouldn't do. There's a level of flamboyancy that he wasn't really a part of. He would park his Mercedes-Benz miles away and drive around in a Chevrolet. In a Denali truck. He would also focus on the things that he was very economic. He would focus on the things that he felt would push forward what he was trying to do. For me, it was just waking up every morning, me, Jamie Hector, at 5 a.m., devotion, working out, reading, taking care and preparing for my family, but it was just a system for me of that kind of discipline. So I related to him in that way. The connection or the similarities that I shared with Marlo Stanfield for me was his discipline. So his laser focus on pursuing power and the things that he did to pursue that power, he's very economic. He's a man of few everything. And for me, Jamie Hector in my life, it was, okay, I can get more done between the hours of 5 a.m. and 9 a.m. than most people get done on planet Earth. Mm-hmm. If I'm waking up that early, I can work out, I get in my devotion, I can prepare my breakfast, I can read what I would like to read, get a couple of chapters in. And that's between 5 a.m. and 9. And that same discipline, that same focus, I felt that Marlo Stanfield also carried.
So was the discipline a shared value, something that you brought along with you and discovered in this character? Or is it something that the character influenced you toward?
Well, kudos to the writers, because the character, it was a combination, it's a collaborative effort. The character also influenced me in that direction, right? Because the writers wrote this person, a man of few words, a man that's very serious. So in reading the material, it affected me. Not only do I affect the material, but I also would hope that the material affects me, which it did. And so the writers did an extraordinary job with that part, And
I say that because, as a, for lack of a better term, spectator, watching you in your craft, or any actor in their craft, you wonder the degree to which the role influences and shapes the character, the actor, personally, in their personal life. Do you find that happens often?
Yeah, it happened for me with this role. Okay, so I create a playlist for the character. These are the secrets, guys, giving them away. I create a playlist for the character, specific books and excerpts from books and chapters for the character, photos, and even people that I'm shadowing that they don't know that I'm shadowing. So because of the material, it allowed me to actually dive into spaces and places that I wouldn't do on a regular basis, right? So I create a world and a mindset for this person, Marlo, based on just a little bit of information that they give, because on television, they only give you, before streaming, one script every 2 weeks. So with the information that I was given and also the information that I received from the producers and the writers, a little bit, we were able to build on that. So it affected me in that way. It influenced me in that way.
Yeah, because the question is, how much of Marlo Stanfield is Jamie Hector,
right.
And how much is Marlo Stanfield, the script that was written and the character that was created? Because I'm telling you, you were convincing.
Wow, thank you.
You were convincing. I enjoyed the show.
Pastor, to answer that question, because that's the question, how much of Marlo Stanfield is Jamie Hector and vice versa? There's a lot of, I just got out of Strasbourg at the time, and there's 3 things that were happening to me at the time that I was studying at Strasbourg. I was studying at Strasbourg. I found CCC spiritually, theatrically, and artistically. I was being filled, and I was in martial arts. So all these 3 things I was doing at the same time for maybe 4 years, consistently, and so the question was, how much of Jamie Hector is Marlo Stanfield? The area in which he was a sociopath is not what I shared with him. What I did share with him was his keen willingness to get the job done by doing the work behind the scenes, whatever that work was. So we shared that in common, and also just in this industry, you have to, build your network and talk a lot. My preference is to not, just do the work. I don't really have to say too much. It'll show up.
Right. And you mentioned CCC. For those who don't know, CCC is your church, your person of faith, and we're going to get to talk about your faith and living that faith out in contexts that are sometimes contrarian values.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that. So when you're an actor and you're in Hollywood, and the statistics are only 5% of the people who go to Hollywood to become, famous or engage in the arts in that way, actually are successful. And then once you're successful, it's about longevity.
Yeah.
How long can you maintain that success? So you have to deal with rejection. How, and I'm sure you've experienced rejection in some form. How have you handled that?
A support team. How have I handled rejection? By making a phone call to my representation, say, I'm done. It's quiet. I'm hanging up. I'm finished with this. Going into audition after audition after audition and not succeeding, and then having a support team reminding you of your accomplishments and the real reason why you're doing it. Also, the love for the work, that you realize it's the process, so you're going to consistently do the work whether you're getting paid for it or not. At least in my earlier years. Now I have a family to support, right? But you realize, man, I can sit on the beach and read a play and go and work on a scene with a friend right now because I really love the process of decoding a script. But the rejection part is very difficult to deal with, especially when you're a young actor and auditions are far and few in between. And then once you go into the room, the thought is that you actually potentially have the part, or you did a horrible job, and then it's not like they call you and say you didn't have it. You just don't hear anything.
You just don't hear anything. Crickets.
Crickets.
Silence.
Yeah.
So no news is bad news.
No news is bad news until you get the phone call that you have it, or 3 jobs down the line is a direct effect of that job and what you did in the room. It's like, you did such a great job in the room, we just put a star next to your name, and we're going to constantly call you. So rejection is not really rejection, it's something that you can learn from.
If you have the right constitution, the right
Absolutely.
attitude, because what were your expectations when you went into this field?
Well, my expectations, wow, great question. 16 years old, I started. I used to play the saxophone, the tenor saxophone. Then I used to also dance. I loved dancing from my sister, Lisa. She just injected me with that thing of hip-hop, dancing, right? And then I was invited to a theater company, Tomorrow's Future Theater Company, by a friend at 16. And when I walked in, it was like time stopped. This is when you kind of know you belong. Drama on stage, music over there, vocalizing, dance over here, script analysis over there, and it was just like organized confusion. And I remember it was just a silent moment, but I heard it was loud. Wonderful. And that moment for me right there was like, this is where I belong, I'll do this for free.
Wow.
And then I started to pursue the work, and then the work started to pursue me, because I love being on stage. The response from the audience afterwards, and then it transitioned into film and television, it transitioned into commercials and ads, etc. And those are the things that really played a major part in my life. Now, I'm sorry, Pastor, forgive me, I forgot the question.
Hey, look, you just dropped a gem.
Okay.
You said you pursued the work, then the work pursued you. That's a gem, man. Because people don't realize that it takes that pursuit, that persistence, in order to make it. We as the public see actors when they're famous, usually. They've arrived on the big screen, or, all over the place in terms of live streaming. But the journey that it took to get there, like the rejection that you experienced. How many people talk about that kind of rejection? But I love that. You pursued the work, and there comes a point where the work
pursues you.
Now pursues you. Let's talk about power.
Yeah.
And here I am, the pastor, and I'm talking about power. What am I doing watching power? I love arts. I love entertainment. I love for someone to take me on an intellectual and emotional journey, in the space of whatever the time is allotted for that experience. I enjoy that. I surrender myself to a degree without compromising critical thinking.
Absolutely.
Which is not good because too often that's suspended. But I love that. So when I'm watching something, I can filter out those things that may be, extreme for me in terms of my level of distance from the language and, some of the not so nice things about the part, the role or the context or the storyline. I love watching people evolve and change over time. So for me, the antagonist and the protagonist going at it, I love that. And Power was something that I enjoyed. My wife and I watched it, and we filtered it out, folks. And I don't recommend this to, immature people of faith. And we talked about the whole idea of power, what it meant, and how it played out. Yeah, this was in the context of drugs, but it was very, very real. And then you have all of these other dynamics of family and relationships and business. And just every aspect of life that's built into it. Why I raise Power is, it's funny, I had a wonderful conversation with Omari Hartwick about the role that he played. But you had a situation where you were brought into the series and you had to play a role dealing with voodoo. And I'm going to let you tell the story because I got the phone call.
You got the phone call.
And we kind of walked through something. And I think there's some lessons there, for our audience to take with them. But talk about that moment.
Absolutely.
And what led up to it.
What led up to it? I was working on Power as, I forgot the character's name. It's going to come to me. But let's just start off with this. I'm a Christian, raised Catholic, and transitioned to non-denominational Christianity in my early 20s. And I take it seriously. I value the words of Christ. I value its thought process. I value the way of life. And so you asked a question earlier on how much leverage or how much influence do you have on the conversation about the character, when walking into it. So this was a show that they reached out to me for. I went into the room, I met with the showrunner, and then after that I wanted to have a conversation about the character, not because the character was rooted in voodoo, but because the character was Haitian, and I wanted to make sure that it was not a one-dimensional, stereotypical character. So I would constantly reach out to the showrunner and ask for a conversation. We need to talk, because before I dive in, I just want to know if the character is not going to be viewed as a Haitian stereotypical character. Anyway, we never had a chance to talk. I go to set. And then when I arrive on set, I'm like, I read the script, but you think what you read on a page sometimes is not what you assume you're going to see on set. And then I get to set, and they have, chickens, and the script is rewritten. And I'm like, this is not what I remember reading. This is a little deeper. My parents are Haitian. My mother's Haitian. Of course, there's that idea that Haitians deal with voodoo, etc., and that's an image that I never wanted to carry out, I never wanted to portray, so I never wanted to dive into that space and tell a story about it either. So when I read the material, I said, wait, okay, I'm not doing this, and I'm on set. I don't want to say this, I'm not going to say this, and is there any way that I can have a conversation with the showrunner? Nobody was available. So I went back to my trailer, packed up my things, but I said, let me call Pastor first.
You were ready to go. You were ready to walk off.
Yeah, I was out.
Okay.
And this is where wisdom and wise counsel comes in, right? Because I didn't want to do anything that was going to jeopardize my relationship with Christ, with God. So I value my Christian walk.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know.
Why did you feel it was a stake? I mean, all of a sudden, here you are facing this role, you're on the set, and all of a sudden, your Christian walk. Because when you started responding to my question, you talked about not reinforcing the stereotype, voodoo and Haitian. And I get that. But what you're saying now, you found a tension between your Christian faith and what you were being asked to do.
Because in the script, when I got on set, they were calling down some different kind of gods or something like that. And I was like, what is this? So you were
engaging in incantations.
Yeah. See, I don't even know what that means. You know, but I do know I didn't like the way I felt. I wasn't excited about what I was reading.
Yeah.
So because I saw that, and I was like, what is this? And who is this? And I'm not going to my phone to Google anything right now. I'm just like, this, I'm not saying it. I'm not doing it. And before I leave, let me make a phone call. Then I called you. And
that's a strong, I'm sorry to cut you off, but that's a strong conviction that you have, that there is a specific boundary for you. And you don't always know how to navigate that boundary, which is why I got a call from you.
Yeah.
Let me not interrupt you. Go ahead.
Yeah, because sometimes, you know, especially as a kid, I took everything literally and I would deal in extremes. It was like yes or no.
Okay.
There was no in between.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, but I learned how to, you know, I guess the word is be a little bit more diplomatic, right? Like, okay, it's not just yes, it's not just no, let's have. But at this point, it was no. Pastor, so I called you, and you asked me the question. You said, now first, before I say all of this, I don't panic. At least I try not to panic. You know, I try to keep it cool, right? But you heard it. You said, okay, Jamie, just calm down. And I was like, oh, I must be a little hyper because I was ready to leave. So you asked the question. You said, are they calling down any names or any gods? I was like, yes, they are. He was like, okay, you can't do that. And I said, okay. So my gut was right. Thank you. I said, so what now? Because I'm leaving. And you said, no, we're not going to destroy a relationship. Go and have a conversation with the producer. I said, all right, but if he says I got to say the lines and I'm out, you know, I guess we're going to have to figure that out, right? I was like, I was ready to go. Because I didn't want to jeopardize, again, my relationship.
Yeah.
At nighttime when I'm in prayer, in the morning time when I'm in prayer, and it's just like, you know, you was on set. Yeah, I'll repent, but you could have turned away from this, you know. So I go to set and I'm like, excuse me, did you write this script? So on productions, the writer of the episode is who comes to set. And the gentleman said, yeah, I wrote it. And I said, man, I have a problem. He's like, what's that? I was like, I have a problem with, he's like, wait, you don't want to say it? I was like, he's like, look, I wrote it and I'm scared. I said, I'm sorry? He's like, I said, I'm not scared. I'm just not comfortable. But he said, I wrote it and I didn't feel comfortable writing it, is what he said to me. He said, if you don't want to say it, don't say it. Just like that.
Wow.
Just like that.
So his heart was already prepared.
Yeah.
He said this conversation before you got there, before you even knew.
He said he was raised Catholic. He said he's just a great writer. And I guess with his research, he puts it together. But his preference would not have been to write this. Which was, it lifted a load for me because now I didn't have to say that dialogue. I was able to navigate and we just rewrote. I think we went back to the original text of what was written. And it worked out for me, and we spoke about it, you and I, right? Just about that journey and that process of being trapped in a place where I just felt like my only option was to leave in order to not jeopardize my faith.
Yeah, and most of life is lived in the gray, not in the black and white. It would be wonderful if it was this or that, but most of what we experience is somewhere in the middle, and it's a broad middle. And that's why it takes principles, it takes precepts, it takes patterns and understanding those patterns, it takes wisdom, it takes counsel, it takes a network of relationships that you rely on. I was proud of you. When I got off the phone, I said, boy, yeah, he's there. He's there.
Oh, thanks,
because you understood that as a Christian, you represent something.
Mm-hmm.
You represent a set of values, a set of standards. And too often, people who identify with Christianity, I call them cultural Christians. They're Christian because they grew up in a Christian culture or Christian context, and they kind of just, adopted it, but not because they had a genuine encounter with faith or God, or the scriptures. And you had that. Yeah. I can bear witness to that as your pastor. You had that. You had a real encounter. And it did something internally, and that internal moral compass began guiding you and influencing you. And there are many people who fail. They don't have that deep conviction that draws those boundaries. And the interesting about convictions are non-negotiable. They're unchangeable. And they grow stronger under pressure. So when it grows stronger under pressure, it's a conviction.
Right.
Because if you changed it and you get weak, it was just a preference.
It was just a preference.
You prefer to do it, but it's just a preference.
Absolutely.
But convictions are very strong and deep, profound boundaries, but they're not rigid. So they force you to step back and have a conversation with yourself about what you're facing.
Right.
And a choice that you have to make. And then you seek counsel, you seek wisdom, you seek advice, and then you weigh it all. All right, and then you approach it differently.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm sorry, you gave me a teachable moment.
Thank you.
I'm
just tied down, got my pad and paper over here so I can write it down. No, absolutely, Pastor. It happened for me in 1999 when I dedicated my life to Christ. That's just what it was. And something changed. Something started to happen. I started to see things a little differently, way more differently. Started to see the scripture differently. Before that, I never opened the Bible. Never. I was just like, nah, raised Catholic, but I never opened the Bible, knew about Jesus Christ, but never had a relationship. And then in 99, when it happened, it was just like something else happened. Yeah. And that's the reason why when I'm in service, I so respect and appreciate the altar call, because that was my experience. And I know they have no idea what they're walking into, but this is something that's going to change and transform their lives in a way that you can't explain.
That's dynamic. That's a living faith. And this is not about being religious in the sense that, fire and brimstone, heaven or hell. No, this is about how do I live out a set of values and a lens that I have on what it means to be human, what it means to live in this world, what it means to associate with other people, what ultimate reality is. And I think it's important because there are people of faith in just about every industry, every social institution in our society, and many of them don't think that they can successfully navigate it because of moments like this, where there's an incompatibility. But you sought counsel, and something checked you, and you responded to that inner check.
Yeah.
You didn't want to go into acting, or should I say your family didn't want you to go in.
Well, no, they didn't know that I was into acting.
So what, you kept it a secret?
Yeah, it was quiet. I mean, I was part of a theater company. Fortunately, this is the reason why, and we'll probably touch on this later on, where Moving Mountains started. There was a place called Tomorrow's Future Theater Company that opened up for kids to go and work on original pieces. So I would go there after school every day. My mother was a hard worker. She worked day and night to provide for us. So because she was always working, it gave us a lot of freedom to do whatever we wanted. My brother, myself, my sisters. And after school, I was on the corner cooling with my boys. But at 3 o'clock, there's a theater company that's just doing this thing on stage where it just really caught my attention that I shared with you earlier on. So they never knew. I would just give them a dap and I'm like, I'll be right back. Turn the corner, jump on a bus, and I'm gone. And I'm sitting there till like 6, 7 o'clock at night preparing for work. So my mother never knew. Nobody ever knew that I was part of, except for my fellow thespians. But no one else knew. And it's not until I think I took my mother to a premiere of The Wire. No, she knew before that because I was doing Law and Order, Third Watch, Oz, The Beat, etc., like that. But she never knew that I was really pursuing this as an art because I had a lot of freedom to do whatever I wanted to do.
Did you feel that she would be against?
No, it's just that I was very private. And I just like to keep things to myself until it actually blossomed. You know, I was never a fan of sharing the process until the process was fully baked, you know, and then it's just like, oh, okay. 'Cause then I felt fulfilled myself, where it's just like, I'm training in sports, but I don't want to share it until I'm really good, you know? And that's how it was for me when I was younger as an actor. I just love working, love pursuing it, love the process, love decoding the script, love working with other actors. I just didn't have time to share it with everybody else.
So you found another community.
Oh, yeah.
There was a community you were growing up in with your family, but this was a new community.
Absolutely.
With fellow thespians, as you said. And I'm sure that began to shape and influence your thinking, your outlook, your aspirations as well. But it's interesting that you kept that under wraps and let it incubate into the person and the career that you now enjoy. Is it this journey that led you philanthropically into forming the organization Moving Mountains?
Yes, it is this journey, my journey of acting. And I was always involved with working with young kids. So, and it was because I could relate. And I just had, you know, empathy for them, you know, because that was me, right? So I left and I went to film The Wire. I was working with the young kids right before I left, just providing my services. They didn't like math. I taught martial arts. I had like 100 students in martial arts. It was an after-school program called JRC. I had 100 students in martial arts, and I taught drama. So I was working with them in drama, putting on little productions, as well as martial arts. I booked The Wire, I'm gone. I'm in Baltimore. So all these kids that I had an effect on that was really moved. I mean, I kept my do-rag on, you know. I had cornrows.
Yeah.
But I still had the opportunity to share my experience in a positive way, right? And I really believe in also, before all the books came out about it, positive affirmations, telling you who you are, instead of telling you, you know, just telling you about the greatness that you're gonna be and who you are. So I left, I went to Baltimore. I come back and there was this one kid, his name was Damo, which is a great success now. And he said, oh, Jamie, and he was really honest about it. He was just like, I see how we do it. So you become a success and then you leave. And
he was being sarcastic.
No, he wasn't.
Oh, wait a minute.
That's what I did.
He wasn't calling you out?
He wasn't calling me out. He was just saying, I see the blueprint.
That's okay.
You make it, you touch all of the lives that you can while you're here, you succeed and go.
And then you're gone.
I said, no. So then immediately I went back to Baltimore, and I called Allie, which is my manager, and I said, we're going to put in place whatever paperwork that's needed, 501c3 and et cetera. I need you to push this forward. Did everything that we had to do, put this information together, and we just opened the doors and Moving Mountains was formed. Like, I mean, so many lives came through the organization to develop, again, the principles and the way of life that I learned at CCC, developing their skills, their talents, their abilities through the arts while building character. And this is what we run with. This is with a little bit of faith, you will move mountains. The name and the title of Moving Mountains alone, just the building the foundation of the organization stemmed from me having a place to go at 16, 17, 18 years old, which created this environment and a family and a tribe of creatives and people that just love to tell stories and engage in the creative process. And I just wanted to recreate that again.
Our young people, each generation faces similar problems, but based upon the progress and advancement of the culture, they face those similar problems a little differently. What do you find? What do you find most challenging for the young people that you're able to reach out to?
Identity. Social media is playing a huge part in shaping their identity. Just the inability to put the device down. But
when you say identity, are you saying that they don't know who they are?
they're trying to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And they're getting so much information from so many different places that the job that we have, whenever I'm talking to the staff, our job is to tell them who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Even if, like, I never forget it, moving mountains, when we were at Medgar Evers, I just said to the class, so how many future millionaires, billionaires in here? Not that we talk about money. We don't. We talk about the craft. And nobody believed. No one. They was like, come on, stop selling us dreams. I was like, I'm sorry? So then we get a chance to tell them who they are in regards to finance and economics, tell them who they are spiritually. Look, and I don't spiritually mug anyone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I just live it out.
Yeah.
And when they ask me the questions, this is my daily routine. This is me in scripture. This is me. This is just my life. This is how we operate. And in all honesty, my career and the center of it was prayer as well.
Mm.
You said earlier on, like, less than 5% actors actually succeed. I really don't think it was my talent only. I don't feel like it was my talent, period. I feel like I'm talented, thank God for the blessings and the favor and the specific grace, right? But I truly feel it was my prayer, my mother's prayer. Because I know so many people and friends that graduated from the best, Juilliard, you name it. They graduated, but it's quiet.
Yeah. It's crickets again.
Crickets, yeah, you know? And just the balance of it, so.
But you become more than just a coach? Do you become a father figure for some of these
Absolutely.
young people? Like, I'm sure some of them are coming from single-parent
Mm-hmm.
mother homes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you become a father figure
Absolutely.
to them, and how do you deal with that?
Mentor, father figure, and just there for them with advice, there for them with relationships, there for them with direction.
Mm-hmm.
People, all of us, look for direction.
Right.
And you graduate with a bachelor's degree in whatever area you're in, but now you don't even know, you have no relationships. You have no network. Okay, I can make a phone call for you, and you need to bring everything you have, and you connect the dots now.
Mm-hmm.
Or just a relationship with someone, now she's pregnant. We got to talk about it.
Mm.
You're about to be a father.
Are those some of the problems that come your way?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So as I'm saying, identity crisis is common to every human being,
Mm-hmm.
in every generation. Children out of wedlock, every generation, sometimes more concentrated within certain communities. But then you mentioned social media.
Oh, yeah.
So it's the same problem, but it being experienced differently because of these new elements, new influences that are being brought into them and that are playing a role in shaping their identity or creating greater confusion in their attempt to resolve the identity crisis. Why social media? Unpack that.
Well, social media, because it's rapid and it's coming from all different directions, and it's shaping you in a way where you just really don't even have time to question yourself. You don't have time to ask yourself, oh, was that wrong? Because you scrolled up to the next one that's just telling you who you are based on who they are. And so we create workshops and we invite social media specialists into the program in all areas so they can understand, one, technology, to the influence of technology on their life and how it's reshaping their brain. I'm not an expert at it, so I invite the experts in to speak to them.
Right.
And then you see that they start lighting up. Whether they use it now or later is the point. So this morning I'm driving to school with my daughter, and I'm like, and my son, I'm dropping them off. And I said, okay, guys, listen, I know you don't eat all your vegetables and everything like that. I don't know when you're gonna start, but I'm gonna let you know now. We're just gonna have a conversation. I'm just gonna put it in. Hopefully you'll pull from it. If not now, then 5 years from now. Fruits, vegetables, grains, less social media, less technology. And they're like, all right, Dad, but I'm hoping if I'm consistent with it.
Yeah, you're sowing the seeds. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the same thing I do for mines and Moving Mountains as well. We create the space where we can bring in the professionals and they speak. Because social media, it can be a plus and a minus. If you know how to use it as a tool, it can work in your favor. But for them, it's just like, entertainment, and it's shaping adults.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not to mention an undeveloped mind at a young age, really trying to figure out which way to go. So I sat down with my daughter and I said, look, we're going to sit down and watch this together. It's called a film called Social Dilemma.
Yeah. I saw it.
You saw it? So you know.
Yeah, I know the documentary.
There's a few things that I wanted to highlight with her. This young, beautiful girl was now questioning her ears because of the comments that the leaders in the social media space making it clear, my children do not use these platforms that I'm the head of. And I just wanted her to know, when we're having a conversation, I'm not picking on you. I'm sharing with you what I'm sharing with everyone else also. This thing could be a plus and a minus. And it's up to you to decide which direction you want to go with it.
So you create this tribe, you create this community that they feel a part of. It's their new family. They gain an identity from being with this community.
Yeah.
Any external peer pressure from those outside who may not understand their relationship within that community? Because, you're living in the neighborhood, and where are you going? You're always going, what's Moving
absolutely.
Mountains? What are you all doing there? Do you really think you're going to get anywhere with this? You disassociate from us, Do they come to you with some of those problems?
They did in the past. They came to me with those problems because we had kids coming in from all over, from the Bronx, from Brownsville, from New Jersey, from Long Island. They were just coming. Some would walk from Brownsville to Crown Heights because, they didn't have the funds to spend to go. And the stories that you would hear about what they saw, from their windows, their mother walking inside of their home, and then there's a shootout in front of the building. Me dropping some home, and then it's like, drop me down a block and around the corner because I don't want you to come into my neighborhood.
And these are the kids who are coming to the program.
These are the kids that were coming. Now, there's a combination, right? Parents are very heavily involved now with Moving Mountains. So you have very few, right, that are still affected in that way. But Moving Mountains, when we started, these were the kids, right, that were coming to the program. This was me when I was going to my program, when I was going to Tomorrow's Future. And it was a lot. It was a lot of giving them a place that they can come and create and love. And then when they leave and go home, what they have to deal with going home. That's one of the reasons why I don't really accept every and any location that's provided for us whenever we open up throughout the year. It's a big deal for me where you get off at the bus station, where you get off at the train station, from your house to your destination. Is it going to be war? Is it going to be life-threatening? Or are you going to be able to walk in peace, get off the bus and have to walk 2 or 3 blocks to the train station and not have to worry about So that makes a huge difference for me. So there's places that were offered to us, but if we can't get them to and from, then we opt out of the location.
Have you thought about going into the public school systems to take the program, or is it them coming to you, to that location? Have you thought about that kind of expansion?
No, absolutely.
Because, a
absolutely.
lot of funding was cut.
Oh my goodness.
After school programs, arts, a lot of the funding was cut, and we're trying to get a lot of that back in the New York City school system. We have the largest school system in the country, right? Any plans in that direction?
No, yeah. Well, the public school system, absolutely. But there's something about having your own key that you turn in the door 24/7 for the kids whenever they want a place to come in. And the public school system, they operate on a system, right? It's just like you have it from this time to this time, and then you got to go. But to quote one of the young actors now, successful also, that said to us, he said, it's funny. You guys open at a certain time and shut at a certain time, and then the summertime it's a camp for the younger, but that's when we really need you. That's when it's life or death. Which then leads to, okay, we need a place for you to come at all times and train, instead of a place that's limited to or, controlled by whoever owns the building, like the Board of Education. So, we just provide the space, and we provide the conversation, and we provide the training.
You have an annual gala, and I've watched it grow from something small and intimate to something much larger, and an incredible number of very well-experienced individuals who are successful in their own right and have the means to support and contribute. What do you think attracts them to financially support Moving Mountains and the work that you're doing?
I think it's the amount of time that was put in, and also the success stories of Moving Mountains. Right now we have over 38 SAG actors. Earlier on, less than 5% that are working. 38 working SAG actors. So you can cut on the television and you'll see them. This gala on June 11th this year, one of the more success stories, his name is Sadiq Saunders. He's going to come and he's going to talk. He plays Ghostface on Wu-Tang, and he's studied abroad in England. He graduated from Carnegie Mellon, coming from Moving Mountains. We had him since he was 13, 14.
He came through your program?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Naya, she's also a series regular on the Netflix show. Corey Knight, and Deshaun, the young brother I told you, coming from Brownsville. That's his mother would walk into the building, etc. FBI, you name it, network after network, and they're working actors. And just to be able to show that, I think those that want to support, and also me being involved with it, because I'm dedicated to making sure that these kids have a place to train, to grow, to be safe. And I think the support that we receive from them is them actually seeing something that's really doing the work. We really pride ourselves on doing the work. Just had a conversation yesterday with the vice president, and we were just talking about, the gala and, what it takes to actually continuously sell the tables and get people to really buy into what we're saying and we're doing. And we just came to the conclusion, like, you know what? God is good. The work is being done. We're letting everybody know it's going to happen. And no sooner than we said that, Mona Scott had said, I want a table. No sooner than we said that, Risk Strategies, I want a table. No sooner than we said, and then they just started calling in to purchase the tables and support the organization.
Wow. So it is also exercising your faith in that divine hand that's at work, touching people's hearts, not only responding to the success stories, right, but just the idea that they can participate in shaping lives, changing lives, changing the trajectory that some young people would have been on, negative, to something positive.
Absolutely.
It must be very rewarding.
It is, Pastor. It's very rewarding because you see the direction it could have went.
Yeah. Jamie, you worked on a set of history books called Our Community.
Yes.
And it really showcases Haitian, specifically
Heritage.
Creole, right?
Yeah.
History. Tell us about that.
Well, it's again, my parents are from Haiti, And I'm always trying to find a way to shine a light on Haiti because it's getting such a bad light, but also pay homage to my mother. So I named my son Sagesse. Sagesse is wisdom, wise one. So when she says his name, when my sisters say his name, there's a certain pride that she's like, Sagesse. They say it with this, not realizing that it was a name that was just like, at first, for so many difficult to pronounce, but the love and what she receives when she say it. So the books, it's called Our Community, the Haitian Heritage Collection. It's in bilingual, and it's primarily in only 4 schools and school libraries. And the idea is to create empathy, to create a conversation, to introduce Haiti in different platforms in different ways to kids that are not just Haitian, but all around the country. These books, I'm a mentor for and an ambassador, so we have several authors. So it's not just my book, so I'm a writer of 5 of the books. And it's based on my daughter, Chloe Wonders. Chloe, it's my daughter's name, Sagesse is my son's name, so we wrote books, fiction and nonfiction, focused on their life. So Stress Test, a child going through stress and problem solving and social and emotional learning. Why is Butter sad? We have a cat. We interjected our cat into the story as well, and trying to figure out how is it that this cat doesn't want to eat, doesn't want to play, and then they create a checklist. And they work through the checklist, and they find out that Sagesse gave the cat Cheerios and an apple juice. That's the reason why the cat wasn't happy. But they created a form of problem solving. But also the introduction of several different authors from Haiti in partnership with Scholastic and NABU. And NABU created a workshop in Haiti because they wanted to tell stories or have stories told from the Haitian perspective. But they didn't have enough Haitian authors. So they created a workshop to teach storytellers how to write stories. Then they hired them. They wrote these books, several books that are now in the Our Community Haitian Heritage Collection. And I think it's a series of 16 books, 8 stories, and it's from gauges K through 3. And again, it's for school libraries, and we're just really passionate about a child being able to open the book that does not speak English, which I've encountered, because we had a rollout in Boston at an elementary school that was predominantly Haitian. It's dual language, Creole and English, as well as in Miami and in New York, and just meeting with the young kids and giving them the books and them being able to read it in English if they read English and read it in Creole. And then the books are fun and other kids get a chance to share in the experience. It's a wonderful, I love this, Our Community, the Haitian Heritage Collection.
Well, we wish you all the best with that, of course, and you're
you.
continuing to do more than just your craft in front of the camera. It's the behind-the-scenes work to change lives that I'm sure is the most rewarding for you.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you, the man that you've developed into and continue to grow into. Let's talk a little bit in the time that we have left about your family.
Yes.
I like that.
I do too.
You got proud,
Yeah.
big smile. Tell us about family life. What's family life for Jamie Hector?
Family life is love, it's fun, it's a schedule. They give you a schedule, because I have a 7-year-old daughter, 7-year-old son, 14-year-old daughter, and married for 15 years. Wow.
Yeah, take a moment.
Takes a moment because time flies, and we really just enjoy this journey of understanding that we're building something. We come together as a unit, and we have boundaries, right? Because it creates boundaries as well. The things that you may want to do, you remember that you have a family at home. So there's certain things that you're not going to do, certain things you're not going to partake in, good, bad, whatever the case may be, but just knowing that you have people that you want to secure and take care of and protect. We enjoy traveling, we enjoy reading, we enjoy just talking about, my wife, she's in corporate. Just so for me to be able to sit back and listen to that conversation about the corporate world, right? About politics and how one affects the other. And then I come in with my little abstract way of thinking, like, you know, I saw that little twitch in his eyes. He's suspect. He's not really sincere about his conversation, because that's what I do. I study behavior without even wanting to do it. It's just a natural thing for me. But we just enjoy this. So I'm saying that to say that she's been working from home for over 10 years. So that was before COVID. So we spent a lot of time with each other, you know. So whereas my kids don't understand the experience of not coming home to their mother and father after school.
Yeah.
They're car kids, right? It's like drop off, pick up. It's like, you're home now. No, you're hungry. It's like, so, which also allows us to understand, because that's how we were raised, coming home to no one being home.
Right. Yeah. Been there, done that myself.
Yeah.
I was a latchkey kid, but the latch didn't work.
Yeah.
I was on the streets, man. I was on the streets. My mother was working 2 jobs.
There goes.
That's the way it is. But it's important that you demonstrate, you model that you can have a career in acting, in the arts, and still be a family man. And that the family plays a role in keeping you grounded.
Absolutely.
You know, and all the work that I've done over the years, my family is so important to me, because I realize how they have shaped and fashioned certain fundamentals that guide my life.
Absolutely.
And I see that in you. I'm proud of it. So what can the world expect from Jamie Hector in the future?
Well, the world can expect more storytelling, executive producing, directing. Right now I'm executive producing a show. It's on Yes Network. It's called The Story of My Number. And we interviewed Aaron Boone and a whole host of other Yankee players and former Yankee players, CC Sebastian, you name it. And it was just released May 9th, the first episode, and the host is Gracie Cashman, the daughter of the general manager of the Yankees. And we're having a fun time telling those stories, because it's the story of our number and how numbers are important in your life. And okay, I have 2 children, so I'll ask the question, or she'll ask the question about what's the number 2 like in your life, or number 3, or your number of the jersey that you have, which leads into different stories and moments of your life. And it was just really fun being a part of that process behind the camera, watching this thing that we started from seed form grow into a show on Yes Network, and they just ordered another 10 more episodes. So it's athletes that we're interviewing, and right now it's Yankee players, but we're just really enjoying the process and working on content. So we have a spinoff that's in pre-production for Bosch, for Jerry Edgar, the character of my character. So there's a spinoff in the works with that. So we're enjoying that journey as well, just watching that come to play.
Jamie, I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
I've had the privilege of being a part of your journey, and will continue as long as I've got breath.
Glory to God.
To do that, watch you grow and develop. But most importantly, it's not what you get in life and you understand it. It's the person you become in the process. That's what makes all the difference in the world.
Wow.
And the person that you become in the process is admirable and to be emulated. So thank you.
Thank you, Pastor.
Appreciate you. Jamie, thank you for being on the program. Thank you for your transparency, your vulnerability, your openness to this conversation. And of course, I'll say it again, I'm really proud of the father, the husband, the man, the coach, the surrogate father that you've become in life. So thank you, man, for this conversation.
Thank you, Pastor. Thanks for having me.
And thank you all for joining us today. If you like what you heard, you know what to do. Subscribe, like, and share. We look forward to welcoming you to our next conversation. And until next time, God bless.